Hello there, and welcome to another episode of COVID-19 Update here in Chatham-Kent, where we talk to different municipal officials, individuals, and organizations that are doing some amazing things as we get through this very trying time in our province and world. And I'm happy to have Chatham-Kent's very own guitarist and songwriter, Michael Shatte, here today. So Michael, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Eric.
So we're going to do something a little different here out on our audience. We're talking the music scene, but first off, I want to talk to you. How are you doing during this interesting time in our province and world?
Well, I'm doing fairly well. Thanks for asking. I'm in a fairly fortunate position to have a studio I can work at that doesn't require me to come into contact with other humans. And as I like to joke, I've been self-isolating on this latest album for about 3 years now. So not that much has changed for me in the COVID-19 era, except that, of course, all of my live performing has been canceled, as has happened to just about every musician on the planet. So it's a weird time, to be sure.
Absolutely. And that actually segues to my next question. As COVID-19 has hit us economically, beautiful weather is coming out. You know, the music scene, it's time to shine. The way we're listening to live music is going to affect us with closed venues, patio music. Who knows how long these places are going to close with the Ontario opening up in phases. But as a musician yourself, what are your thoughts on how we can move forward for artists to continue producing great content? You know, you say you're working in a studio. How about some of these other local musicians?
It's difficult. Because the lifeblood of music is performance in front of people. And as we were saying a few minutes ago before we went on air, it's the live streamed performance is an interesting substitute for actual performance in a venue. It doesn't really replace it. And it's not, I don't think, for me personally, it's not as impactful to see an artist perform through a screen. And although it can be exciting for that to happen live and to know that this is going on in a very intimate space. That's one of the things that the internet gives us, is a sense of intimacy, because everybody's in front of their webcam. And so that's an interesting connectivity with the audience. But to answer your question, so much is unknown about the virus and about how it's going to play out in terms of vaccine or immunity. We don't know. The science isn't clear on it yet. So until that happens, it's hard to see live music returning in any serious way, because the essence of it is people crowded together, enjoying that experience of listening to music in a loud space. And being ensconced by not only the music, but the atmosphere and the energy of the people around you. So I said to somebody the other day, unfortunately for musicians, live performance is likely to be one of the last things reopened in this whole process. And so what can musicians do in the meantime? Well, I encourage everyone to do as I'm trying to do, which is write some songs. If you're a songwriter, hunker down and practice your instrument. Try to find some inspiration at home. Revisit your record collection. Be ready for the return of music, because it is going to happen. And there's going to be an incredible appetite, I predict, for live music and for recorded music as well. People are going to want new stuff. And musicians should try to be ready for that. And I'm certainly going to try to do that myself.
You basically actually answered your optimism on, when live music will be in these 3-stage openings. So I'm going to kind of revert the question again, compared to, playing for a room of maybe 200 people, where would you optimistically like to see, a live set play for the amount of people? Because that's going to be the next question, is when these venues open up, how many people are going to be able to play? Is it going to be worth the time for 20 people or, even 10?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to sing into a microphone through a mask. It kind of defeats the purpose of a PA system and trying to get good sound. So I suspect that the first venues to open, and in Canada it's highly dependent on the season and the weather, will be open air venues. So festivals may be the first thing, but I think you would end up seeing social distancing in effect in the audience. and maybe on the stage as well. And then every singer, for instance, would have to bring their own microphone, which I do anyway, because I don't really want to share microphones. No offense to my fellow performers, but you have your mic and you're the only one using it. And that actually would have to be, everybody would have to do that in the COVID era. And then in terms of venues, indoor venues, I really don't know, because a small club, it's going to be tightly packed by definition. A theater is pretty densely packed as well. They're all densely packed. So, yeah, it's tough to see. The restaurant industry, though, I'm sure is thinking hard about this and how to fit enough people into their space to still be profitable, but also maintain some distance. So if they can do it, perhaps the music world can do it as well.
Let's talk about some of the challenges that I don't know if you've been facing during this. Has there been any?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, I was joking when I said not much has changed. It's challenging to obviously it's economically challenging to have paid gigs canceled. Now I'm in a fortunate position, as I said, because I also teach in a music program and at the college level, and we were able to transition our courses online very quickly. And so some of the work that I do that's musical, but not directly related to my career as a guitarist, singer, and songwriter and performing artist, some of that stuff has continued. So I'm really fortunate that way, and I know other musicians who can say the same, but I know lots of musicians who can't say that. So it's been an impressive series of support measures taken by the federal government on this, and I suppose by the provincial government in other ways also. So in terms of challenges, it hasn't been devastating for me, and I just feel very fortunate to be able to say that. And also, I haven't been touched personally by knowing anyone who's gotten really ill or passed away because of COVID-19, and so fingers crossed on that front as well. But we're trying to do our part around here, and stay isolated, but also try to stay sane and stay communicating. I was talking to a friend the other day about how I'm actually starting to get a little bit tired of video chats. Yeah. Because I find it very distracting to see myself on the screen when I'm trying to focus on the conversation. So while that's a downside, I love the fact that we can now see people and talk at the same time. It's an amazing technology. So thankfully it's gotten to this point in time for the pandemic. But historically there's a real precedent, or there's lots of example of artists being and live performance being squashed by pestilence. The one example that has been bandied about of late is Shakespeare and the Globe Theatre in the 1590s, as well as probably at other periods during his life, went for a couple of years at a time being closed, shut down by the Black Death. Yes. Which I think was the bubonic plague. Yep. So and it returned, and I think the historical record suggests that Shakespeare simply wrote during that period and tried to produce as much as possible. So I don't see how there could be a better example to follow than his. No, especially talking about the Black Plague. I mean, it's two different types of viruses, but I think in all of our eras we've gotten through these in one way or another. So it sounds like you've been doing really well, which is awesome. So we're still turning this negative into a positive, and you've actually said earlier that you've been quite busy. Your single Water in the Kettle has been playing quite a bit on our sister channel, CKXS, which has been awesome. So thank you, Jay Smith, if you're watching this. Yes, thank you, Jay.
What other projects have you been doing, and maybe potentially moving forward? What's in the world of Michael Shatte?
Well, I have, like I said, I'm able to record while isolated. So I actually have multiple album projects in the works. You've kindly mentioned Water in the Kettle, which Jay has been playing, and he's actually playing kind of a pre-release version. The actual album version is coming out very shortly on a streaming service near you, along with a music video that I've produced for the song. And so, if people want to check out my website, michaelshatte.com, they can sign up for my email list and be apprised of when that happens. But also, so I've got these other album projects in the works. So my main album coming out it was supposed to come out in June, I have to say. That's actually one of the things I might have mentioned when you asked what's been difficult. I had a number of concerts planned to release this CD in June. The CD is called Conundrum, and Water in the Kettle is on it. And that's been scuppered. That's been totally canceled, or delayed, rather, postponed. And so I have to come up with an alternate plan. And I have to decide, well, shall I release the album when there's no opportunity to perform immediately? And a lot of artists are doing that because, the world has moved online so thoroughly anyway. People are listening to streamed music everywhere, and also going to YouTube for so much entertainment that it seems perfectly natural now to do this. So yeah, you may see that from me in terms of this album, depending on what happens with the shutdown and the isolating. I'm hoping that if live performance doesn't continue, I'll probably have the album out by August or September in terms of a digital rollout, and then we'll work on planning concerts when we can. For the return of live music and to help promote that. But I've also got a couple other album projects underway, including an album of covers. And that I'm quite excited about because my live sets, I often sprinkle the odd cover tune from a favorite artist of mine in. So I've been building up a recorded catalog that is unreleased of some cover tunes, and so that's going to make for another album project. And I'm partway through my next original CD besides. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm trying to get ahead for myself and get some of this stuff finished up. It's not all going to be released at once, but it will be released, and if I can get it done in this period when nothing else is going on, then that's what I should do, and I will do.
They say save projects for a rainy day, but it sounds like you've been absolutely busy, and I'm looking forward to hearing this, and I'm sure Jay will have to play some of these singles when you do release these albums. So, Michael, thanks for all the music that you're giving out to the world. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Well, I'd like to say thanks to you and to Jay Smith and everybody in Chatham-Kent who's supporting musicians and artists in this crazy time, and just supporting everyone. I mean, not just the arts. Everybody's been obviously so negatively impacted by this, but there's also been, some nice stories of community engagement and, civic mindedness from home. And I think that's really wonderful. So, humans are resilient. I would just say to everybody, I have a hard time with this sometimes, stay positive. I can be a little bit pessimistic, but, it will come back, and we'll be ready for it when it does. Yeah. So,
and when I say when we usually close up, when this is all said and done, I hope we have one big, giant Ontario block party, and perhaps you'll be playing at a few of them. Maybe make your way back to Chatham-Kent and give us a set or two.
I'll look forward to it.
Thank you very much for your time there, Michael, and stay safe.
Thank you, Eric. Same to you.